Hey guys, Laon here from Solutions with Laon. Welcome to my channel. I'm excited today to share this video that I have of Neville Goddard's lecture talking about living from the end. I do want to do a quick plug. If you want help with any kind of coaching, I do offer one-on-one, so check out the drop box below, which is going to have a link for solutionscoaching.org where you can check out all of my coaching services. So let's dive into what Neville Goddard is going to be speaking about in this lecture. It's all about living from the end, or living in the end, and our power within, and how simple manifesting is, because it is simple. So he breaks it down exactly what you need to do to be able to manifest the life of your dreams. And pretty much to summarize, it is going to be focusing on what we do want and shifting the state and how we hold that state. So it's very, very simple. I will be chiming in the middle of the video to break down some more of what Neville is saying, so then you guys can comprehend it, because sometimes it is considered that he is difficult to understand because it is old school language from the 1930s. So I will be breaking that down, so you can look forward to seeing me some more. But let's just dive into this lecture.
Conceive a scene which, if true, would imply the fulfillment of your dream. Just imagine it. Certainly you can imagine it. But the problem is, will you believe it? Will you believe in the reality of the thing imagined? If I can this very moment imagine myself into a state, any state at all, and dwell in it. Well, now what is dwelling in it? Well, I am dwelling in it. Well, that's Christ. And that is the resurrecting power of the universe. So if I remain in a state, I will resurrect it and objectify it in my world. But I have to select it and enter the state. If the spectator could enter into any of these states in his imagination, approaching the state on the fiery chariot of his contemplative thought, what would it feel like if it were true? How would I feel if I were now the man that I would like to be? How would I know that I could become it? Well, I first, as I assume that I am it, let me think of my friends, those who really would rejoice with me were it true. Let me imagine that I am seeing them in my mind's eye. How do they see me? If what I am assuming is true, they should see me as I am seeing myself. And if they are friends, they should rejoice with me. So let me now assume that I am seeing, reflected on the face of a friend, that which, if I saw it, would imply he sees in me that which I have assumed that I am. Will that work? Try it. I tell you from my own personal experience, it works. As we are told in Corinthians, do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? Unless, of course, you fail to meet the test. Now we are challenged. He said, come test yourself and see. Well, this is how I test myself. If Christ is in me, and all things are possible to Christ, then I must find out who he is. Well, I have found him as my own wonderful human imagination. And because he dwells not only in me, he dwells in us, everything is possible to everyone in the world. And so you help man best by telling him who Christ is. You could give him all the things of the world that he needs. He'll come back for more tomorrow unless he knows who Christ is. You can give the entire world to anyone in this. They'll spend it, waste it, if they don't know who they are. But tell him who he is, and he doesn't need anything more than the knowledge of who he is and the application of that knowledge. For we are the operant power. It doesn't work itself. I can tell you that your imagination is Christ. And maybe you'll believe me. But unless you actually take it to the point of working upon it and operating it, it means nothing. Well, if this night I really believe it, I would not allow the sun to go down in my sleep unless I feel myself right into the situation of the wish fulfilled. It need not a wish for myself. It could be a wish for a friend, for everyone in my world, because Christ dwells in all, and Christ is the true identity of every man, then everyone must be myself pushed out. It can't be another if God is one. Therefore I tell myself, as the seeming other, what I would do were I you. And instead of giving him the thing that he needs physically, tell him how to get it for himself. What would you feel like if now you were the man that you want to be? How would you see the world if things were as you desire them to be? Now this is what I mean by living in the end. Robert Frost, just the year before he departed this sphere, he wrote this story for Life magazine. And he said the founding fathers did not believe in the future. What a shock, that they did not believe in the future. They believed it in. He said we are always imagining ahead of our evidence. And the most creative thing in man is to believe a thing in. They had no evidence to support their claim to democracy. They were under a king when they threw the king away and began to simply build a concept of the future. They did not believe that the mere passage of time would bring them that dream. They believed it in. And these men believed implicitly in the Word of God. And they believed that if I know what I want, when I pray, believe that I have received it, and I will. Well, if that precept is true, literally true, to be accepted literally and fulfilled literally, well, then what am I doing not believing? I should actually know exactly what I would like to be, and discovering what I would like to be as against what I seem to be, dare to assume that I am it. And my assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. That I know from my own experience. And I know it's a law. Therefore, if someone is not becoming the man that they would like to be, and they tell me, but I once imagined it and it didn't work, then what are you doing now and still not imagining it? If imagining creates reality, what are you imagining? For if Christ is the only creative power in the universe, and I identify him with my own imagination, well, then my imagination is creating reality. So what am I imagining?
I absolutely love the fact that he mentioned our founding fathers, because they had no reason to believe from their exterior that they would be able to succeed at creating the land of the free, the home of the brave. They had no reason to believe that. But they just kept focusing on what they do want. They noticed that they don't like being ruled by a king. They don't like their rights being violated or having to pay taxes, right? So they looked at that and were like, we don't like that. What can we lose by focusing on what we do want? By dreaming about this new land. And then as time went on, as they kept focusing and persisting and fighting for their rights, fighting for what they did want, it started unfolding. And they started winning different battles against the king, against England. And then that just kept them motivated to continue on, because they kept seeing more and more evidence that, hey, our imagination creates. Now, maybe back in that day, they didn't know that it was exactly the imagination creating, but they kept persisting with this thought, this belief that we can make a change, that we can make a difference. And that is powerful. And that is exactly what we need to do in our own manifestation journey. We are not trying to manifest something. We are going within and having belief that this is the life that we want to focus on. We are not focusing on what we don't want. We are focusing on what we do want. So what do you have to lose? There is nothing. You are escaping. That's the way I look at it, is you escape from this reality by going within, by focusing on the version of you that you want to be, by focusing on the life that you want to be living, focusing on the person that you want to be with. And once you are focusing on all of these different areas of your life, within, just going in your imagination, if it's through scripting, visualizing, affirming, whatever it is to get you into that route of escaping, that's all you have to do. And this story is proof that that's all you have to do. Because our reality is not fact. What we are experiencing right now, our circumstances that we are experiencing right now, are not fact. The only fact is where our thoughts are, where our beliefs are, and our assumptions are. So what are we focusing on internally? Are we having inner conversations or inner arguments with our person? Because then that's going to be expressed in our external as them wanting a reason to fight with us, or wanting a reason to hate us, wanting a reason to not be with us. That's all we're creating. If we start focusing on what we do want with them, focusing on a happy, healthy, loving, fulfilled relationship, us feeling whole and complete with them, or even without them, just feeling like we got our own back, then guess what? That is going to manifest with them looking at you like, wow, he or she is so confident now. Wow, they don't need me. I'm an extra to their life. I just add to their life, but they're good without me. That is so attractive. They will start reflecting your internal world. So really think about that. You change your exterior, not by will and force and might. You do it internally. You make the shift internally. Now this next part, Neville goes into states and how to hold the state. What you really need to do to be able to make this state, the one that you do want, the dominant one. So let's dive into the rest of the lecture.
Pick up the morning's paper, and I'm fed with everything I should not feast upon. All the horrors of the world, all the negative states of the world. After having read it for an hour, then I must either regurgitate or in some strange way rub it out, because I can't go through life feeding upon such nonsense. But if I really know what I want, what you want, what we want, and persuade myself that we have it, if my premise is sound, that imagining creates reality, I should, in the not distant future, hear you tell me that it's worked for you, and the other one tells me, and I in turn tell you, and go through life sharing this marvelous news with others. So I say, live as though it were true. Just as though it were true. Here we find it in Caesar. He which is was wished until he were. He wasn't born Caesar, the king. But here was an ambition fulfilled because he was wished into it. He desired it, lived in the state, and everything reshuffled itself to conform to that state to which he was faithful. I see it in my immediate circle. Those who you would not think for one moment would ever become prominent, but they desired to be prominent. Those who desired to be successful, as they conceive success. No two see success in the same manner. Some see it through the eyes of wealth, others through rising in some profession, others in some other manner. But whatever they conceive it to be, they can realize it. If night after night they sleep in the assumption that they are now what they would like to be. And so we go back that if the Word is truly the Word that creates the system in which we live. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. By him all things were made, and without him was not anything made that was made. No, not even the so-called unlovely things. For if all things were made, he has to be responsible for the unlovely things as well. So we are told in Scripture, I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. I create the blessing, I create the curses. But now I must choose life. Choose the lovely things, but don't say there's another creator. For if there's another creator, then we are in conflict. So my own imagination can conjure unlovely things if I dwell upon them, or the lovely things. But they can't be two gods. There can't be two creators. And if I can find that creator and identify him with my own wonderful human imagination, then I can't pass the buck. I can't turn to anything and blame it for the things happening in my life. But I know that many of us are not discriminating, and when we see our own harvest, we don't recognize it. We can't conceive that we, in some strange manner, permitted these things to be entertained by us. But we did. It could not have come to pass in any other way. So if I believe it and accept it, well then I will live by it. And then when I know what I want for anyone, and this goes for everything in this world, whether now, this very moment, you desire happiness in marriage. You say, but there's not one person in my world that's eligible. I know no one. You don't have to know anyone. All you have to do is to decide within yourself what you want. Now, what would you do if it were true? Would you wear a ring on the one finger, which would imply that someone placed it there, one that you admire? Well then, wear it there. Don't wear a physical ring. Put it on just as though he had placed it there. And sleep feeling that which you are feeling as real. Don't say it's all imagination. Certainly it is, because all imagination is Christ. Therefore, it's all reality. So when you say, well, that's only my imagination. Well, you're just saying, well, that's only a thing called Christ. when you treat imagination that way. Is there anything in this world that wasn't first imagined? Name one thing or point out one thing in this world for me that is now considered to be real that wasn't first only imagined. What is now proved was once only imagined. Therefore, this is a true statement. All things were made by him, and he is your own wonderful human imagination. All objective reality is solely produced through imagining. The clothes you wear, the chairs in which you are seated, this in which we are now placed, everything was once only imagined. Now tonight, find out exactly what you, not what they think you ought to want, what you want. Ask no one's permission. You don't need any man's permission. You don't need your own decision. What do I want? Now, what would it be like if it were true? What would I feel like were it true? Now, catch the mood and try to give that mood all the sensory vividness of reality, all the tones of reality, and then sleep in it, just as though it were true. And then await the inevitable. The inevitable is you're going to resurrect it and objectify it on the screen of space. And then the world will call it real. And they may not believe you. It doesn't really matter. If you tell them it came to pass because you simply imagined it. Now, they'll point to the series of events that led up to it. And they will give credit to the bridge of incident across which you walked towards the fulfillment of that state. And they'll point out some physical thing that was the cause. No, the cause is invisible, or the cause is God. And God is invisible to mortal eye. Who knows what you're imagining? No one knows. But you can sit down and imagine, and no one can stop you from doing it. But can you give reality to the imagined state? If you do, yes, a bridge of incident will appear in your world. And you'll walk across some series of events leading up to the fulfillment of the imaginal state. But don't give causation to any physical step that you took towards the fulfillment of it.
So Neville just spoke about something very powerful. There is only one creator within us. So we call it God, universe. Again, we don't get wet by the word water. This creator is the same creator that is manifesting the things that you don't want, but can also manifest the things that you do want. It is not separate from us. So we must not feel guilty or ashamed for what we created unconsciously. If our person is cheating on us, if we are living on the streets, or we're poor, we're not living the life that we do want. We cannot feel guilty about that or be hard on ourselves for it. What we must do is now take steps of focusing on what we do want to get out of this undesired state. But it is the same creator that is creating the undesirable and that will be creating the desirable. And that is really, really powerful, because if we can create one state, then of course we can create another state. We have to just embody that state and focus on it. And that's all we literally have to do when it comes to manifesting. Creation is already finished. So those things that we are trying to manifest is already out there. That state is already out there. But we have to embody the state. We have to go and transfer from one state, the undesired state, to the desired one. So just as if we were focusing on the undesired, as easy as that was, focusing on the circumstances and focusing on us fighting with our person or getting blocked by them, or not having a vehicle because we can't afford one, or not having our dream house because we can't afford it, not having the money or the success in the business that we desire to have. As easy as it was to focus on all that negativity in that state, to where we feel so shitty about ourselves, feel like we aren't successful and can't get what we want. As easy as it was to think about that state and to look at it like it's fact, right? Because that's really what we're doing. We're looking at it as if this is fact. This undesired state is fact. If we turn our focus to what we do want and start focusing on, well, we have the relationship. We're already married. That person is showing up for us in the most amazing ways, and I've never been treated so amazing by this person before. And my work, oh my God, everyone is so nice to me now. My boss is always praising me. Or I'm now making the money that I want, and my own business is successful, and I got clients or people buying my products, and it's been amazing. Or I now have my dream car. I never thought I'd be able to afford it, but now, shit, look at me. And I'm living in this huge ass mansion. Whatever it is, if we start focusing on this storyline, this state of what we do want, then that will just as easily manifest for us, and we will embody and step into that state. We just have to hold that state. So just as we embody the undesired state and we identify it, we identify as it, right? We have to do the same with this new state and start identifying as it. Have the thoughts in alignment to this new state. So what Neville explains is, what would you be thinking if you were now this person living this dream life? If you had the relationship, if you had the money, if you had the cars, if you had the house, what would you be thinking? All right, well, you get a good clear picture of what you would be thinking. Then we start feeling. What would it feel like if we had this dream life? Well, you'd probably, if you had the money, you'd probably be feeling successful. You'd probably be feeling accomplished. You'd probably be feeling secure financially, right? And confident. If you had the love, you'd probably be feeling secure. You'd be feeling loved. You'd be feeling like there's passion in the air, that there's an abundance of everything, and you're grateful, right? Start feeling those things, right? That's all we got to do. We start thinking as if we were that person already and have those thoughts. Then we start feeling it. Then we start doing. What would we be doing throughout our day? Would we be stressing about our person if we were living our dream life and already with them? Would we be stressing about money if we had unlimited amounts of buku bucks? Would we be stressing about how to pay our bills? No. And that's the key difference, right? We have to focus on what we do want. So we think about it, we feel it as if we are already living it. And we do these things throughout our day. We don't pick up a bill and be like, oh shit, here we go. How the fuck am I going to pay this? We pick up the bill and be like, okay, that's fine. All right, what's next? What else do I got to pay? That's nothing. And we start embodying that state, and we do this repetitively. Not robotically, repetitively. That's what helps us maintain that state and reprogram our mind. Because if we focus on what we do want, start feeling it and thinking about as if we have it already, not that it's going to happen, as if we already have it, then that is what's going to manifest, because we have now successfully embodied that state. Now, Neville also explains that this bridge that you walk on that leads you to your manifestation, leads you to your wish fulfilled, your end, might look like coincidence. But only you know that it's not, because you know what you imagined. So don't let other people steer you away like, oh, well, that was going to happen anyways. Yeah, it was, because I imagined. If I did not imagine it and did not believe in it, then it wouldn't have manifested. And I'd still be in this old state and wouldn't be experiencing walking this bridge that led me to my manifestation. Now, I say all of that to just say that you can manifest anything, and it's just shifting a state and shifting your focus onto what you do want instead of what you don't want. And that manifestation is actually super simple, despite where you might be on thinking that it is hard. Once you grasp this concept of we're just shifting our mindset and being disciplined to focus on the lifestyle and the thoughts and the beliefs and the assumptions of the person who already has this thing, the manifestation becomes super easy. So I'm going to end this video with Neville telling a story about his brother and how he manifested a successful business and had nothing in the beginning, no money to even start this business. Now somebody took a chance on him because he imagined his end. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and that it was really helpful. Again, if you want help with any one of your manifestations, please reach out to me. All of my services for coaching and one-on-one services is in the Dropbox below. There's a link for solutionscoaching.org, so check that out. And as always, guys,
the nickel toad. and not a total stranger, but a man comes in and asks you quite in a friendly manner, are you going to buy it? And knowing you don't have a penny, you say to him, as you would a friend to a friend, with what? And then he said, well, I have money. It's only in the bank drawing nothing. You say, but I have no collateral. But he said, I've watched you. You're an honest person. Your family, they're honest. I think they are. Would you like me to buy it for you? I'll get my lawyer to bid for it. If they knew that I'm bidding, that I have money, they'll bid me up. And so I get it at the very lowest price by getting a lawyer who represents more than one client, and they do not know who he represents, and he'll bid for it. Are you willing to take it regardless of the price? And you say, yes, I'll take it. But I have no collateral. All I need is your signature, that you will simply pay 6% on whatever the price is, and then reduce that principal over a period of 10 years. Agreed? Yes. But then sign this, and we'll see if we can buy it. That day, you owned the building. And you didn't have one nickel when you owned the building that day. You only had your signature on a piece of paper. At the end of 10 years, you repaid the man his principal. You reduce it every year, paying him 6% on the remaining principal, and reduce the entire thing at the end of 10 years. That man dies 20 years later and leaves you $150,000 in cash, tax-free, and a couple of homes and many personal belongings. In the meanwhile, you continue in that business, and it multiplies and multiplies. And that year was 1922, 1924. This is now 1968. That building, I'm speaking factually, that building in 1924 is now gone. He paid only $50,000 for it. It was repaid and repaid. A bank 3 years ago bought the property, because the building was rotted, bought the property for $840,000 in cash and no capital gain, from $50,000 to $840,000. In the meanwhile, the business has expanded into all the other islands, so that today you couldn't buy them out for $15 million. All in imagination. And this goes back to the imagination that preceded this man's offer to buy the building. For the young man seeing this building and entertaining a thought that the present owners deceived his father, and through deception got him out of a partnership, a junior partnership. And he was moved not to get even, but to prove that he really had something within him and could be a success in spite of their deception. And so every day he would see on that marquee not their name, but his own family's name. And he would see it in his mind's eye, because you could not take their name and transliterate it and make it spell this man's family's name. But he saw it. And in his mind's eye he saw that name, which if true would imply the family owned it. He did it every day, twice a day, for 2 years. And then came this sudden, out of the nowhere. And the whole thing was made possible, and today they're all over the islands. And they have no partners. They've never taken in one partner, never sold one bit of stock outside of a family ownership. All by imagination. Now, I know what I'm talking about because I am a member of that family. I'm speaking of my own family. This is not hearsay. I know it. My second brother, Victor, was the one in whose imagination this whole thing began to bloom. And he still works all by imagination. He knows what he wants, and then after having decided in himself, that's what I want, and that's good for the business, he then in his mind's eye, he appropriates it. And then let things happen. As told us in Scripture, the vision has its own appointed hour. It ripens, it will flower. If it be long, then wait, for it is sure, and it will not be late.